I was very impressed after coming across LPS. LPS is not playing the salary game. They eliminate this game altogether by just being transparent. When did you decide of becoming a teacher?
I just somehow knew that by talking to people, I can transform their lives.
Why did you decide to move to a corporate role?
I wasn't ready to commit 8 hours at a school.
What were some things that you learned fresh या आपको unlearn करना पड़ा?
Every child looks up at you and says, "Ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am." And you don't know how to take no for an answer. But in the corporate sector, you have to know how to take no for an answer.
School management principles over prioritize parents at the cost of teachers.
And the first thing the parents will come to date and say that अगर मेरे बच्चे को कुछ हो गया तो आप जिम्मेवार होगे.
मान लीजिए आपने ऐसा सोल्यूशन कोई ढूंढ लिया कि बॉय एंड द गर्ल बोथ आर बेटर ऑफ नाउ.
This is not an act which we can say कि sorry बोल दो खत्म हो गया. No.
As a school leader, how do you engage with parents?
That's the challenge that we face, that the attendance of parents is, it builds very slowly and it's very erratic.
Two habits of screen that you see parents doing generally.
Friends के तो parents allow करते हैं, आप ही नहीं करते. You're not cool. Well, I'm not cool, too bad.
How do you recruit?
The moment somebody begins a conversation like myself so and so,
Let's maybe also understand how you've landed up where you are today. You've
okay.
been teaching in different schools. You've also worked in the corporate sector and then come back and grown and you've become a principal. You've also been a resource person with CBSE and so on. When did you decide of becoming a teacher? And then when did you move to Hindustan Unilever, if I'm not wrong, into a
Okay.
corporate position? And what was the journey like at that point in time?
So for me, actually, I've been very bright with academics. Out of the three siblings, I was always the best at academics. And my mother is a teacher. So for me, once I finished my post graduation in zoology from the University of Delhi, the next choice was the Central Institute of Education, which was across the road. And I took it up. I don't know exactly, but it just came naturally to me. I took the exam, I cleared, I went to the B.Ed college, and when I entered there, there was a sense of belonging as if I was just born to be there.
What city or town was this?
Delhi.
Delhi. Okay, sorry, you had mentioned. Huh?
So I was there, and I just went through the B.Ed college for 9 months. It was very smooth sailing for me. And being a teacher, connecting with children, and having the confidence to feel that I can transform lives came to me. This thought was seeded in me very young. I was 23 years old way back.
What
And I think
happened? What was the spark of this city?
the spark was that I have the confidence to transform lives.
And how did that come about? What was the experience that?
I would, as a child, I used to organize annual functions in the garages. So, what would that mean? So, whenever I went, my mother was a teacher, and at one point of time, she was leading a school, and I was very fascinated by how annual functions were planned, and how the curtain went down, and how it came up, and how people transformed themselves on stage. So, my father is from the Air Force. So, we would have afternoons free to ourselves, and there was always a big garage out there. So, we would pick out bed covers from the bed. I mean, it was in being in the forces, it was a set routine. Dad went to office at 7:30 in the morning. We went to school. We came back home at 1:30. He came at 2. So we ate lunch together. And after that, mom and dad used to be sleeping. So the three of us were out in the sun, and we would play annual function. And and we would have neighbors very close by, and all the children would get collected, and I would choose that you're going to sing, you're going to dance, and I'm going to direct this play. So, and at that time, when I started connected with children my own age, or even my older brother and my younger brother, I was a natural on stage. So, then I would guide them about stage presence, and I would tell them how to talk and how to feel more confident. This is way back when I, at the age of, I think, 10 years old, 9, 10 years old. So that's when I just somehow knew that by talking to people, I can transform their lives. And since I'd seen my mother be a teacher all her life, I had been visiting the school. I would see her talking to children. I though she didn't teach me ever, but I was fascinated by how a teacher could transform your life. My own teacher, I remember I was in a central school in Kalaikunda, which is a small city close to Kharagpur in West Bengal. And I had a teacher from a Gurukul. He used to wear a dhoti and kurta. And he would perform yogasanas in the classroom. And I was fascinated by that. And seeing him, I started practicing yoga. He taught me a lot of shlokas from the Gita, and I learned them. So I somehow saw that a teacher could inspire something new in a child. I was ready to be inspired, and my personality was such that it inspired people around me. So somehow I knew that I'm just meant for this. And that's how I went to join the Central Institute of Education. Then I got married and I came to Chandigarh. And the first job that I had in a school was in a school called Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan here in Chandigarh. I started teaching straight away, 11th and 12th, straight away the board classes. And at that time, since I had come back fresh from college and I had a lot of knowledge, and I wanted to uh, give away my knowledge. It was a very knowledge focused thing. And since I came from scoring very high marks in school and in college and being at the top of the class was what I knew best, I started working on delivering results in these classes. And my teaching at that time was largely teacher driven, but also very inspiring for children. And the results that got delivered through my classes were always very high.
Understood.
That was the first phase of my teaching.
When and why did you decide to move to a corporate role?
So then after that came I became a mother. I was at home for 5 years and I was looking for a flexible option to step into work. I didn't want to go back full time into a school. I wasn't ready to commit 8 hours at a school. So there came this opportunity where Hindustan Lever Network had launched their direct selling unit, direct marketing unit. And there was this lady who came and she spoke about selling cosmetics to me. And she says, "Why don't you join me?" So I just heard her story. And I remember it was, we bought a kit for 335 rupees. And I signed in. And then we started talking to people. And it was like teaching, but the difference here was that the output was not related to getting marks anymore. I've been output oriented all my life. But just that output for me has changed across this 30 years. Now, in the corporate sector, the output for them was that the number of kits that you sell. And the teacher in me saw the output as the number of people who would register with me, and I would help them build their business better. So people found it easy to trust me.
And when and why did you decide to come back into schools?
So at that point, what happened? The business was growing very fast, and when the business grows very fast, there are other things that are required to keep it going. And it was becoming very demanding on my time. In fact, the business grew so much that the flexibility is something I didn't have anymore. I
That
had
was
to,
actually going to be my question
yeah,
next, because you entered it thinking flexibility, but you had
yes.
grown it enough that it didn't seem like you had any flexibility by the end of
I
it.
didn't have any flexibility, and I wanted to be at home more. My girls were growing up, and because here I had to travel a lot. I had to, just pick up a car and go to Jalandhar and spend one whole day and come back at 12 at night. So it was, the money was very good, but the flexibility and lack of time at home, I was again tempted to go back to teaching. So then I went back to teaching, but this time in a primary school. I mean, from a life when I was beginning my day at 10 a.m. or 10:30 a.m. and not every day, I had to report to a school at 7:30 a.m. in the morning, and I reached Yadavendra Public School, and I met Mrs. Komalan, and just outside her room there was a sofa, and there was a child who was lying down on the sofa, and he was throwing a fit, and his mother was trying to pamper him. Hmm? And Mrs. Komalanand said, "Hello, Vandana, welcome to YPS. Here's, I'm not going to name the child, here's so and so, and please take him up to class. You're going to be class teacher of class 3." So I looked at him, and in my mind, teaching was about, since I come from an armed forces background, for me, discipline has been very important. So I was like, God, this kid is not disciplined. I'm going to set him right. In my mind, I'm going to set him right. And I took him up to class. And then the children of class 3 were there. They were very loving. But I was a misfit there for the first 1 month. I would be screaming. I would be yelling at them, trying to fit them into the box that I thought in myself, the way a class should look, the way my class looked when I was a teacher. But and this particular child was a bully, was a bully, and he would throw tantrums, and he became my teacher. Actually, I understood that when you are relating to children who are 8-year-olds, unless there is a connection from the heart, you can't even get them to lift a finger. Forget about teaching them. You can go hoarse and screaming. That's when I learned how to connect with children.
एक सवाल मेरा ये है कि आप पहले टीचर थे, फिर आप कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर में गए एंड देन यू केम बैक एज टीचर। तो ये जो
Hmm.
पहला जंप था ऑफ मूविंग फ्रॉम टीचिंग टू कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर, व्हाट वर सम थिंग्स दैट यू लर्न फ्रेश या आपको अनलर्न करना पड़ा फ्रॉम योर फर्स्ट टीचिंग एक्सपीरियंस टू कॉर्पोरेट एक्सपीरियंस?
So I learned about entrepreneurship. You see, my husband is an entrepreneur. So first, when I was teaching, I couldn't understand the nature of his work. Why was this uncertainty? Why is it so chaotic? Why is every day not the same? And I couldn't relate with that. But when I joined the network, every day there was a win or a lose. So I learned to deal with failure and excitement on the same day. So highs and lows I was experiencing, and slowly I became very, very resilient. As a teacher, we are not resilient. When we walk into the class, every child looks up at you and says, "Ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am." So that goes to your head. And you don't know how to take no for an answer. But in the corporate sector, you have to know how to take no for an answer. Your performance, the sales, the conversions, the numbers are there telling you whether you've been successful or you've not been successful.
एंड व्हाट अबाउट द नेक्स्ट जंप कॉर्पोरेट टू बैक टू स्कूल?
अभी इसमें क्या है कि जो इसमें जो मैंने अनलर्न किया अपना टीचिंग से, कि वो ये कि टॉप हैवी से बात नहीं करना है। वो मुझे कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर में, ये जो मैं अभी आपसे मैंने बात की ना, आई स्पोक टू यू दैट am I to I hope I'm not talking like that. That's a learning from there. Like nobody talks from there. We are all like here as a teacher, and especially in that at that time, a teacher was there. I had those things in my mind. So now next time when I, after the corporate sector, when I came to the primary school, the unlearning was, of course, the dress code that I changed, but that was very temporary. That was very temporary for me, because within no time, 2 years, I was my original self. I didn't care. But that was a temporary shift. I unlearned from there. Yes, I had to get used to a timetable. I had to work around the bell. I had to. Uh, uh, Now, when you're working with children, and children as young as that, uh, It's the entire ecosystem of a child that you're interacting with.
आपके अंदर वो क्या बदला थ्रू द एक्सपीरियंसेस मेंटली विच सडनली मेड यू फील कि आई कैन टेक माई ओन डिसीजंस, आई डोंट हैव टू स्टिक टू दिस structure that is laid out. And the reason I ask this, well, let me
Yeah.
give you the reason also. A lot of teachers that I talk to are in that routine today कि हाँ मेरी ये सिलेबस है, स्कूल में ऐसे पीरियड है, मुझे ये बताया जाता है कि ये लेसन प्लान है, ये चार्ट है, ये वो है, आई हैव टू स्टिक टू इट.
I think, yes, now I know it. The exposure that I had, the exposure that I had outside the classroom to traveling all over, meeting so many people, that exposure and meeting people and the connection, the confidence that I gained from that exposure, that confidence gave me this ability to experiment within the class. And second thing is that I think that then I started developing a personal vision in education. I started connecting with the personal vision in education. That it's not necessary that you can. The education is about transformation of children, no doubt. But what are you actually doing? What does it mean to you in person? Each teacher has a different vision, and if we are not working towards a personal vision, there'll be plenty of conflict, and we will not be able to actualize what's within us, and we do not connect with the leader within us. So that exposure, that wide exposure, that failing every day, being successful every day, and being in Goa at that conference where I was appreciated in front of a huge audience, that gave me this thought process that it's okay to experiment. You don't have to follow set norms, set systems to be successful. That's what changed in me.
Now let's then switch gear into your current role.
Hmm.
तो ये सब लर्निंग आप लेके आ रहे हैं एज अ प्रिंसिपल नाउ इन योर फर्स्ट रोल एज प्रिंसिपल व्हाट वर एंड नाउ इन हाइंडसाइट यू आर स्पीकिंग ऑफ कोर्स व्हाट आर फाइव थिंग्स दैट यू डिड which today you think were not appropriate to do that. One of them you mentioned that you assumed that
Yeah.
having control over timetable will suddenly change the school.
Hmm. The second thing is that I am there to transform everything in that spur of the moment. The moment something goes wrong, I'm going to set it right. And I will do it. Like, I know how to do things better. So this has to, my system will be followed. People will just follow what I set. So that is something which is not correct.
Okay.
That I am the only problem solver, right? So hence I am very good. My solution should work. People just need to be told, tum ye kar do, tum ye kar do, tum ye kar do. Problem solved.
ठीक है.
That's not the way it should be.
ठीक है.
The third thing is that every organization has certain very strong cultures and mindsets, deep beliefs.
जैसे if you can give one example to make it.
कल्चर ये है कि जो सीनियर जितने साल जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में रहा, सीनियोरिटी, people who have stayed, the longer you stay in an organization, the more your commitment is to the organization, right? I at that time I didn't believe this. I was like, came from the corporate sector, was very active in me. I was very cutthroat that quality is the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter the number of years you're here. So if you're not going to fall in this system, eliminate. That very, very cutthroat kind of a thing, putting people in boxes. I was perhaps judging them. So that's something now in hindsight, I know that everybody has different capacities. So, and in your team, you need everybody to work. The third thing is that I think I had trust issues with my team members then, that I do things best. When you're not letting go, you're keeping control of something. I didn't understand. I didn't know, but they were actually trust issues. They were trust issues. Like one person for me was too organized, another person for me was too creative. ये time पे नहीं होता. I was finding faults with everybody. So when you're finding faults with everybody means you have trust issues. That's something I know now.
Got it.
You
Got it.
know?
Okay. Fifth one.
Okay. Like, have I spoken about perfection?
Yes.
Perfection is the end point to everything. That is wrong.
Yeah.
Perfection is not the end point. Excellence is the end point to
How
everything.
do you differentiate between the two?
Perfection is when everything is like, who's going to say what is perfect, right? Whose mindset says what is perfect, right? You're viewing perfection through your eye lens, correct? You are saying that everything is 100 on 100. So then things are perfect. Excellence is the ability of everyone to deliver what is in them to the best of their ability.
You had
Okay.
moved from whatever was earlier to being more output driven, so you've come back to a school with a more focused passion, more rigor, and so on. And what you said now is uh, having this cutthroat kind of a culture in school did not work. If I leave the word cutthroat out
Hmm.
and just insert output orientation as school, and you said no more output orientation, what's the difference in your
The
mind?
output is different now. No, I at least I've started to understand what is holistic education. It takes a long time to understand that. The output is not only in terms of achievement. Performing to achieve is not the output. That's not the output. The output, the umbrella is widened. It's much larger. That is the change. And for that output, that high, when you look at holistic education, holistic development of children, then perfection is, it's work in progress. Now we are all work in progress, so you have to understand it from that point of view also. You can't just fit in, you can't just look at, I you can't think that excellence only comes from your eye view. What I understand is that you have to also, okay, if you want to look at excellence, and build the rubrics around excellence and do it with your team. Unless you have a shared understanding of excellence, your own thoughts of excellence is just idealism.
Let's come to the opposite of the earlier question.
Okay.
Let's say we have to put you in a new school now as a principal. What are the first five things that you would do?
So first thing is that before you join a new school, take a break, for sure. Take a break. Just don't leave one day and go and join the next one the next day. Then read about it. Of course, visit the website, hear people's perception, look at the vision and mission of the school, do your research. Because by now, when I started to understand the meaning of vision, mission, what does it mean? Do that. That's the second thing. The third thing is that upgrade your energy. You got to read some new, uh, you got to, like, what I remember, read this, you got to hear, I was deeply inspired. Before I came to learning path school, there was a book I read, first 90 days transition. I can't remember the exact name of the book, but 90 days in an organization. I read that book, so which gave me a lot of guidance about what to do. In the beginning, do not react, just make your observations, understand the systems. Do not start giving your judgments. Gauge what is the network in the place. So because you got to, at the beginning, you have to perform somewhere. So start working on areas where you're confident. Talk to people, meet them in groups, hear them out. These are a few things that you have to do. Then understand how systems are working, what is your excess, what is the resource that provided to you, and then start working over there.
In your current role as a principal, for you, I'm not speaking generally as a principal what they should do. I'm asking more in your context. What is top of mind focus for you that you keep thinking about every day, or is on top of your mind that every month I have to worry about this thing? What would be such things?
See, it's a very dynamic environment in my current role, very, very dynamic. There are multiple programs running at the same time. Now, what stays at the top of my mind is that finding connections between the programs. Because I believe that if programs are running in a school and they're running in isolation and you can't find connections in those programs, you're doing something not right. In my previous organization, we had 2 to 3 annual functions. So if you have a reading program in the pre primary wing and a reading program in the primary wing, and then secondary wing and senior secondary wing, as a principal, it's important for me to see the progression. But these wings are independently led by coordinators, and they are working in their own systems, or they're working within their own wings with their own group of people. So they necessarily do not have the knowledge of the previous wing, right? So when you have 4 independent programs running, maybe even under the same umbrella, and there is no connection at the transition points, it's not going to be effective.
What would something else be top of your mind?
For me, it's very important to see on an everyday basis a wow moment with a child.
For you personally or as a thing in the school?
Personally, in the school, when I'm walking on my rounds, when I take a peek into the classroom, or when I'm at assembly, when I'm in the playground, I could be observing a child, I could be hearing a child speak at assembly, I could see a child fall down, get hurt, I could see a child being not even playing and observing from a corner. Supposing there is a group activity happening on the sports field and there's one child who's standing out in the corner. It could be a visit to the counseling room. Some new insight about a child I must get on a daily basis, and that's what makes it worth its while for me. I'm
Okay.
always looking for that.
There's one line of thought I keep hearing from a lot of teachers, and obviously there's the other side of the story as well. Um, is that school management, principals, directors, and so on over prioritize parents at the cost of teachers. Now, how do if at all, maybe that is the way it should be. अगर वो है तो I would like to understand that as well. अगर आपको लगता है नहीं balance is the right way, then how do you maintain balance?
See, I'm very lucky that way because from the beginning, my personal vision of being in an education is to transform the child. I'm very child centric. So when you're getting multiple thoughts or multiple opinions about a particular behavior of the child, the parent's version will be different, the teacher's version will be different, the academic coordinator will tell you something, the counselor will tell you something. So you have and the child himself or herself will speak a story. So you have 5 opinions about one single behavior. Now, what is the way forward for you as a principal? So you got to balance all the 5.
एक इंसिडेंट या एक बच्चे के बारे में and everybody is sort of the teacher is also thinking about that child. I am teaching that child. The parent is thinking ये तो मेरा बच्चा है. I am thinking of that. You're a principal. You're thinking I am also child centric. So everybody is thinking child centric in their own minds. How does
Correct.
it so happen? Then everybody has a different opinion.
Yeah.
एक एग्जाम्पल अगर हम
So,
लेके थ्रेड बाय थ्रेड
so,
उसको एनालाइज करें.
so now supposing you have a child who has at a very young age has had a sudden exposure to pornography, all right? And he, because of that exposure to pornography, he's been disrespectful to a girl in the classroom, correct? And the episode is, of course, the parents of the girl get to know about it, and parents are very upset about it. And the case is reported to the academic coordinator, and the academic coordinator does his or her own due diligence and tries to find out. And uh, the child is sent to the counseling cell, and the academic coordinator has handled the case in her or his own way. right? And then come the girls' parents. That, of course, they're shocked that how could you allow something like this, that you have children like that in class who are watching. These are the words that were used with my girl. My girl has not had an exposure in our country. It's very, very unsafe. Just because I have a girl child, it doesn't mean that my girl is going to be taking this nonsense. I want you to rusticate that. So that's the girl's parents' side, right? Now, this case is brought to you. What are you going to do about it? You've heard both the stories. You hear the academic coordinator who comes to you, and then you kind of, because she or he is responsible for the discipline, you hear them out, and you've heard their version. Don't be in a rush to pass your own judgment. Call the child, talk to the child, see where it's coming from. The child may come to you and own up, yes, I did this, I was wrong. But he doesn't even understand. He's had the exposure. He's had this exposure. Now it's there with him, right? So you have to reprimand the child also. You scold the child that, look, you've been disrespectful to girls in your class since you've had that exposure. You've been disrespectful. So we are very angry with you. 2 days you're not going to sit in class because the girls are not feeling safe around you. You use these words. For 2 days you're not going to sit in class. So the child goes back home, cries to his parents, he's very upset. So this cycle continues. So the parents come to you, and the first thing the parents will come to date and say that अगर मेरे बच्चे को कुछ हो गया तो आप जिम्मेवार होगे. आपने बच्चे को क्लास से बाहर निकाल दिया. बच्चा तो बहुत अपसेट है. तो ये साइकिल चलता ही रहता है. तो इसमें जब ऐसे बिहेवियर के प्रॉब्लम्स आते हैं ना, तो जल्दी से डिसीजन नहीं. जिस दिन आप जल्दी डिसीजन दे दोगे, आप कोई गलती कर जाओगे विच विल नॉट बी चाइल्ड सेंट्रिक.
एक है of that boy child being boy child centric in that same example. The second is the girl child centric. The third possibly is the culture of the classroom centric. मान लीजिए आपने ऐसा solution कोई ढूंढ लिया कि boy and the girl both are better off now, but now there is a class environment that has gotten affected as well. How do you make the decision कि पहले कौन सा most important है, and how do you negotiate in your own mind when you're reflecting, when you're going slow, कि how do I prioritize, कि क्या कौन सा बच्चा important है, कहाँ पे probably at in the short term this बच्चा is not important, but in the long run ये बच्चे के लिए सही होगा. How do you balance that out?
But that's a very interesting, yes, you're right, absolutely. क्लासरूम सेंट्रिक भी है. क्लासरूम का भी एंगल होता है, क्लासरूम कल्चर होता है. क्लासरूम में बच्चे होते हैं, उन बच्चों के पेरेंट्स होते हैं, वहां भी वो बात चल रही होती है. आजकल तो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स होते हैं,
Yeah.
तो उस पे भी चैट, उसमें न्यू स्टोरी चल रही है. यू ट्राई टू टेल देम दैट कीप इट कॉन्फिडेंशियल, but वो they do not want to, they don't understand the value of keeping it confidential, whereas you have to keep it confidential and yet give them a solution. So for me, the way forward is like both the kids, both the kids are important, both the kids are equal. Here it's not that the girl child is
Important than the other.
more important. Than both children are important, their age group is important. The child, both of them have had a kind of a traumatic exposure, both of them. So both the kids, so the first thing is to keep a very, very close eye on both the children. So if both of them are somehow feeling okay, then the boy child has to be reprimanded, because yes, this is not an act which we can say ki sorry bol do khatam ho gaya. No, because now comes our responsibility that we have to stop the child from getting on there, because it's going to really harm him in the future. So for him to understand that he's been reprimanded for what, you have to explain it to him that you're reprimanded because the girls of your class are not feeling safe with you around.
But as adults in the room there with so many kids,
Hmm.
we also are going through a lot of emotional turmoil while these kind of things are happening. This is probably an extreme case. Even with small things, I've gone from class A to class B, and while I was going, I didn't complete my chapter there. Now I'm going with that stress of, oh, I need to do this again. tomorrow and so on is also a stress. I, as a teacher or a principal or an academic coordinator or anybody in that school, need to also grow my own self. वो चाहे रिफ्लेक्शन के थ्रू हो, वो चाहे मेडिटेशन के थ्रू हो, वो चाहे कुछ और हो, काउंसलिंग करे, थेरेपी ले, जो भी है, बट वी आर ग्रोइंग एज वेल एंड दैट ऑल्सो बिकम्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. As a school leader and with your teachers in that school leader वाला सर्कल में अगर मैं उनको काउंट करूं, how do you engage with parents? एक larger framework या ढांचा क्या होता है of how you look at parent relationships, and then through the year आप क्या क्या करते हैं towards building that?
So we have right at the beginning, see, we have an orientation program for parents where I engage with them. There is a group parenting session that we have. So across the school, I meet parents in their classroom, their groups before they go to and meet the new class teacher. There is an engagement with the principal at the beginning.
So this is
Then
start of every year,
yeah, start of every year.
and with
Then these
these
parenting,
classroom के parents.
I mean, like group, the whole class three will come together. More or less, the whole school one meets in the, let's say, first week or first month of once the school begins. Within first 15 days, so there is a group interaction that happens. That's a setting perspective. Then through the years, we have about 6 or 7 parenting sessions that I do as group sessions. Like we pick on themes.
Orientation is probably fairly clear for principals,
Mm.
that before you start the class, before you start the year, you kind of give some perspective. ये थीम वाला जो है, that is something I see very few schools do. How do you think about it? Why is it important? How do you get the parents to that space? And what are the kind of topics that you're discussing?
So with this, just recently, I spoke about de-addiction, screen de-addiction. So I spoke about it. Now this time I spoke to the parents and children together. That's very effective because in everything, any solution that we're trying to find, we're trying to be, I keep in mind that we're trying to strengthen the relationship between the parent, child, and the teacher. So this year I had these group sessions. So screen de-addiction was one this year. We're going to have one on sex education. It is scheduled for this month. Then I talk about raising resilience series, positive parenting, adolescence, how to address children at transition stages, whether it's from the pre-primary wing to class one. Then these transition class orientations, I handle them differently because we observe that the moment a child transitions from class 5 in the primary school to the middle school class 6, there are some specific challenges that come up. Then we talk about time management and career options for children for classes 10th and 12th, so on and so forth. There's a whole roster that we chalk out.
And is this compulsory for all the parents to attend?
So so that's a challenge. It's not That's a challenge that we face, that the attendance of parents is, it builds very slowly and it's very erratic. The reason we're doing this to help them understand that the child of today is actually very different. It's like call to action time for them to change their parenting style. But we can't project it like that to them. Or even if you project it to them, they're so busy and caught up in their own routine, they find it difficult to come to us. So, but we are continuing with this, hoping that the attendance builds up better over a period of time. And if you make it mandatory for them, I don't know how it's going to be received.
On reflection, do you see something more that you want to do in the parent engagement, or do you think this is already enough and we are kind of trying to balance different things now?
No, 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 definitely. And the parent, it's one of my dreams to have a parenting school simultaneously with the school. It's my dream to tie up with maternity hospitals and reach out to the new parents and tell them and warn them that 8 साल की उम्र तक बच्चे को मोबाइल नहीं देना है. कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. Don't have a FOMO. No matter which school you're going to, it's not a status symbol that the child comes and studies or reads from a smart board. Send them and keep them in natural environments. I want to reach out. I want to tell the parents कि 2 से 8 साल के बीच में बच्चे की ब्रेन डेवलपमेंट बहुत फास्ट हो रही है. जितना सेंसोरियल एक्सपीरियंस रखोगे उतना बेहतर बच्चा सीखेगा. the screen is really damaging children, because I see the ripple effect of use of screen, which starts very young. At that time to hum log, we find it an easy way out, we find it very cute, and we just give it, and but आगे जाके बच्चों को addictions होती हैं, and उस addictions के जो repercussions है वो मैं देखती हूँ बड़े होके, तो mental health पे effect आता है, वो मैं देखती हूँ.
So if you can pick two habits of screen that you see parents doing generally, which can be replaced now, and the hope is जो भी ये टीचर्स प्रिंसिपल ये देखेंगे,
हम्म.
उनके दिमाग में ये दो चीजें तो हो जो वो अपने टीचर्स को पेरेंट्स को बता पाए. What would be those two?
खाना खाते टाइम तो screen is a big no no.
Okay, and what should they
इसलिए
replace it with? I'm assuming पेरेंट्स ये कर रहे हैं किसी रीजन के लिए.
हाँ, रिप्लेस तो करना है कि उसकी आदत बनानी है ना बच्चे से. अभी रिप्लेसमेंट, आपको रेडी रिप्लेसमेंट स्क्रीन जैसा तो कोई नहीं मिलेगा ना. आदत बनानी है बच्चे की, 3 साल में बनती है.
Hmm, hmm.
3 साल तो लगा है
And
ना
why
आपने.
why are parents doing this? खाने खाते वक्त ये देखो.
बिकॉज लाइक there's so much stimulation on the screen ना. बच्चे को दिखा दिया तो बच्चा वहां पे फिक्स हो गया, तो उसके मुंह में खाना डालते जाओ. लैक ऑफ टाइम. बच्चे से बात करके उसकी आपको आदत तो अच्छा खाने की बनानी ही पड़ेगी. अच्छा नहीं खाना जो है, इट हैज वेरी वेरी सीरियस रिpercussions.
They're trying to shortcut distraction while having food.
सी, ओवर स्टिमुलेटेड माइंड्स का नतीजा जो है, चिल्ड्रन आर फॉरगेटिंग हाउ टू अप्रिशिएट स्मॉल थिंग्स, फाइनर थिंग्स ऑफ लाइफ.
Yeah.
ग्रैटिट्यूड खत्म हो रहा है.
Okay, so this is one. So screen during food. थोड़ा
इज अ
आप
बिग
एफर्ट
नो.
ज्यादा डालो खाना खिलाने में instead of
और
giving screen.
दूसरा, जब बच्चा बोले ना कि मेरा होमवर्क मिला है, मेरे को मोबाइल फोन देखे बिना मेरा काम ही नहीं होगा, प्लीज चेक करो. चेक इट आउट विद द स्कूल. आई मीन, गो डाउन टू द डिटेल्स. अच्छा, कौन सा होमवर्क है मुझे बताना. इस होमवर्क से क्या चीज आपने फोन पे देखी. अच्छा, फ़ोन पे नहीं देखी तो आप मेरे फ्रेंड्स मुझे फ्रेंड्स, अच्छा, मैं फ्रेंड्स के तो पेरेंट्स अलाउ करते हैं, आप ही नहीं करते. यू आर नॉट कूल. वेल, आई एम नॉट कूल, टू बैड. डोंट फॉल फॉर दिस ट्रैप दैट आई नीड द फोन फॉर माई होमवर्क. मेरे फ्रेंड्स के पेरेंट्स मोबाइल उनको दे देते हैं. यूर ओल्ड फैशनड. डोंट फॉल फॉर दिस ट्रैप. आपने नहीं देना. यू हैव योर ओन ग्राउंड रूल्स. आप अपनी फैमिली वैल्यूज अपने हिसाब से चलो.
A lot of schools have a challenge of timely fee payment with parents, and that spills timely fee payment.
टाइमली फी पेमेंट, या.
A lot of schools that we speak to, and even a lot of large scale surveys also talk about it. 30-40% of schools see timely fees as a big problem. Is that an issue in LPS? If yes, how do you overcome it? What kind of
We have systems in place to monitor the fee payment, and our director has created a system which is very very active, and it continues to work through the year. And we have a special dedicated person assigned for the job to figure out why it's not an automated thing. So we have a system in where there's a warning, there's a discussion. I mean, there is empathy if it is required, but it has to be, but it's been communicated with transparency that this is the date of the fee and you need to pay. And if you have not paid, then there is a system in place. You will be called and spoken to, and then regular fee defaulters will be handled in a certain way. First time fee defaulter is handled in a certain way. So there are
Could you
checks
share
and
some of
balances.
this in more detail? And I'll tell you why. In a lot of cases, the first point of call is kids.
No, we do not.
So
The
I want to
kids,
understand what's the breakup of how you escalate, what's that system?
we never reach the kids with this.
ठीक है, then let's come to the last section of our conversation, which is more teachers. Uh,
Okay.
उसमें first thing तो is how do you recruit? Where do you hire from? How do you hire? What's the process like? किस type के teachers हैं?
So recruitment is, I have learned over the years, it has to be a continuous journey. The newspaper advertisements is a source. You advertise in the newspaper once you have a vacancy. The second way is it's very important to be in touch with the B.Ed colleges. Then, of course, word of mouth
Word of
from your
mouth in the
own,
teacher community.
from the teacher community,
Okay.
word of mouth through the teacher community. It's a continuous journey. And you now, by now in third year in learning path school, though We do have very good retention within school. It's not that the teacher fallout rate is very high. In spite of that, continuously you got to be meeting new people.
So what is it that you're looking for? If a new teacher lands up now at LPS, what are you looking for? What kind of skills, what kind of knowledge, mindset?
So yes, of course, the CV is important. I do look at it very carefully, and it's very easy for one to know whether it has been written by the person or it's AI generated. It's We are very quick on the update.
Hmm.
So we in fact you screen it and you will catch on a few words. Even if you find 4 or 5 unique words, I circle them because that's my point of conversation.
Hmm.
So very generic, and then when the moment you see the CV and the person, you match the person and the CV. So automatically you understand. While there is no problem in generating CV through AI, there's no problem in that. But at the same time, the mismatch cannot be too much, you know. So that's a bit of a put off, honestly. But having said that, you can pick on, and you the moment you begin a conversation with the person, from the time they walk into your room, from the time they sit on the chair, the manners, the etiquettes, from the moment they start using their body language to talk to you, the whole persona, how they keep their nails. It's very important because teachers have to use their hands a lot when they're talking to children. So those are small things. How they keep their hair, you know, how are they dressed? Is it a professional way of dressing or they've just put together? What is the feeling that they carry around themselves as teachers? Are they coming with a portfolio? Or it's just that they come walking in? The biggest problem with teachers is that we don't even value what we are doing. We are, that's unfortunate. But teachers are powerhouses. I mean, you are next to God actually. You're molding personalities. So, I mean, is the teacher able to realize and feel that sense of pride? So, from the time they walk in and they sit down, ma'am, may I come in? Ma'am, may I sit down? May I? A small gesture like that. And then you begin the conversation. Tell me something about yourself. That's a very nice icebreaker. So, how the communication skill builds up from there. Tell me, because supposedly teachers should be most excited talking about themselves. So the moment the teacher describes himself or herself, you can make out what kind of a relationship the teacher has with himself or herself. Do you love yourself? Do you have a sense of pride about describing yourself? Are you happy to do that? So when the person is describing yourself, if a person is describing himself or herself, that's not when I'm really looking at the choice of the rightest words, if anything like that. What's the passion that comes across from the person?
I've not recruited teachers ever, but for the interviews and recruitment that I used to do for the company that I was with, I had very clear things which told me this is a no. Right? Within like 15-20 minutes into the conversation, no is very clear.
Mm,
Yes was harder for me to figure out.
mm,
Yes was always maybe I
mm.
have one more and so on. For you, where what are some no's?
So the moment somebody begins a conversation like myself, so and so, it's like it's like
Okay.
it's like okay. So yeah, honestly that expression in the eyes, the ability to emote. Some faces are very cold, and you immediately know that this face is going to scare the children in the class. You know, every school has a culture. Every school has a culture. So I've been part of 4 schools now. So you just intuitively know that whether this person will be able to fit into the culture of this school or not. That comes through talking about themselves, their family background, their passion from learning. You do try to match the culture, but it's not. I can't give you very clear indicators of saying no to that. You have to try and match the culture. Try and match the culture. Otherwise, then you have to induct them into the culture. Then be prepared that you will, okay, fine. You sometimes you make decisions like, okay, this is teacher material, like great teacher material. There's a deep connection from the heart. All right, we'll make an extra effort to blend them into the culture. You'll do that. But you do try to find, of course, use of technology, very important. The moment you ask a question, how comfortable are you with the use of technology? And somebody says, yes. So what do you do? I make PPT and I show videos. So it's a no. It's a no because that's not use of technology.
What is one thing that is very important for you when you hire teachers, but you find it the most difficult to check in the process?
I'm always looking for great teachers. So this is a thought, this belief. I love teaching. Just that's enough. I love teaching. So I like teaching because I was born to do this. I love teaching. So that's the spark that I'm looking for.
I, if I may, are you trying to look for a younger version of yourself?
No. When I see a younger version of myself, yeah, then people who are very, very regimented, discipline oriented, want to transform the world in 30 seconds. That was my younger version. And yeah, I do say, well, this looks like a younger version of myself. But we have hired people who are not like me at all, like my younger version or my current version, but they've been great teachers.
One of the things that you mentioned earlier is a lack of confidence in teachers to
Hmm.
own up and believe that I am genuinely impacting these 20, 30 kids' lives. Uh, what do you do to help teachers in your school overcome that and then get even better? One is overcome that thing and become confident, but then to rise above that and become a great teacher is something else altogether. तो पहले आप ये confidence कैसे लेके आते हैं and then how do you help the teachers move forward?
So we have conversation. We have a lot of conversations with teachers in school, and we have a lot of well-being routines, in particular for teachers, especially at exam time, moments of extreme stress.
Hmm.
So we have these well-being routines where the teacher is, given that additional emotional support to tide over those times. The second thing that I told you that for me, a wow moment every day in school is very important. So supposing I've met a child, then I'll go back to the teacher of the child and have a conversation and give a thapki or have a teacher to teacher conversation with them. Small thapki, as small as shabash, ghoda shabash. So we do that a lot in school actually. I said like if you've done something good, say shabash, ghoda shabash.
I used to
This
do kiss
really
your
helps.
brain in school. I was in primary grade, so I was trying to come up with innovative ways to appreciate, and it became a thing amongst teachers as well, at least in my group. So we
Okay.
used to do it in class. If kid
Okay.
comes up with some great idea, we would say kiss your brain.
Ah, that's nice.
Yeah. So it just
That's
became
nice.
a thing,
Yeah.
even in the teachers. If
Yeah.
somebody came
Yeah.
up with like, you should
Yeah.
kiss your brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
What are these well-being routines that you were talking about?
So one thing that I've seen over the years that the exam month is the toughest month for teachers. The body language of the whole school changes in that month. Everybody is walking purposefully, very seriously, checking papers, backache, cervical pain, all that. And with that energy, when you're checking paper and putting down results together, you can't do your you can't do justice to taking insights and understanding how can you better your teaching, because every exam month should be giving you insights for what you can do to better yourself. So to be able to build this reflective ability in teachers during the exam month, we have group prayers. We begin the day with group prayers. We have group chanting. We have bhangra sessions. We have yoga sessions. We have we are the where teachers are checking papers. They're sitting department wise, there are fragrant essences playing there. There's light music, classical music in the background. And they organize team parties, small team celebrations. So every wing, every exam department is arranging these things, because there are non-exam days when children don't come to school. So we have a specific timetable chalked out for well-being in that month. And it has been great because we wind up result collation 10 days before schedule with this.
What is one thing that you're doing that you're most proud of, which probably most schools don't do?
I think these exam time routines for teacher well-being, I haven't seen it anywhere else. I'm proud of it. I'm really proud of it. And embedding counseling practices into school systems, embedding them. So
What,
I'd like.
what is a counseling system and what is embedding?
So every school should have a counseling cell, right? They work independently, and yet at the same time they have to team up with teachers, because unless you combine the insights from the counseling cell with the classroom behavior and classroom performance of the child and communicate to the teacher for the betterment of the child, it's not going to work. So when two systems are working in isolation, it's not effective.
No, this is very interesting. This takes me back to one of the charts we were shown in the teacher training days. Uh, was teacher values and mindsets lead to teacher actions, which directly affect student actions, which then build student mindset and student values. So, and this was a common chart that my immediate manager would use to say, you need to fix your own mindsets and values so that your actions reflect them, and hence you'll be able to build that in the child. What I'm seeing in your example that you're giving in this integrated counseling cell that you have created is all of this is coming together. So somebody is looking at the kid and understanding what are the behaviors and what are the values and mindsets the kids are picking up and what can fix them. And at the same time, observing the teachers as well and saying, okay, what do we need to work with them? And then both coming together is for me now the full chart is a tick, tick, tick. I was very impressed after coming across LPS is that LPS is not playing the salary game. What I see is LPS amongst one of the few schools, and most good schools do this, is they eliminate this game altogether by just being transparent. तो एलपीएस के आपके सैलरी सारे सैलरीज पॉलिसीज एचआर रिलेटेड थिंग सब कुछ आपके वेबसाइट पे है राइट सो नो टीचर इज कमिंग विद द बैगेज ऑफ कि क्या व्हाट इफ समथिंग एल्स इज हैपनिंग आई fully know what to expect. This is the money I'll get, this is what everybody is making, this is the policies. Now I'm playing a different game. What is the thought process at a management level? Why is this an important thing? Maybe this decision was taken many years ago, जो भी हो, बट ये थॉट प्रोसेस क्या है कि हम ट्रांसपेरेंट रहेंगे and we'll play a different game with teachers. And what is that game?
So it's like, I think it's kudos to the management and the directors of the school who have evolved these systems. The school has been started by social entrepreneurs. So they have been constantly evolving systems of transparency, and they keep tweaking it. They study the market. See, they're social entrepreneurs. So it's not like salary is not something that is uh, just frivolously quoted to a person. There is always deep thought behind it, and the deep thought comes through examining the entire system. This can be attributed to the ability or the vision of our directors, who basically are trusting. So if you trust people, people will, if people will trust you, you trust people. It's like a cycle. And the biggest factor that you get trusted for is the way you deal with money. And education is a game of trust. I think that must have been their thought process when they have been so transparent in these disclosures which have been put up on our websites. And having said that, they continue to work on it.
So what's the pitch to the teachers then? Why should I join LPS?
All right. So this is something that I heard from somebody who had come recently to me. So I have had people from the so-called best schools of the city come up to me and say that I believe the working environment here is very good. So what is good about it? That you have the freedom to be, you have the freedom to do things in a different way,
Yeah.
and you're encouraged for it. पैसा ही सब कुछ नहीं होता, ये मैंने सुना है, अभी रिसेंटली सुना है, so I'm quoting this. पैसा ही सब कुछ नहीं होता है, मतलब I cannot be following a system which is completely, even I am a teacher, I have an experience of so many years, I know what happens in the classroom. If I'm not going to be appreciated from my ideas, तो फिर मेरी ग्रोथ कैसे होगी? और एलपीएस में तो ट्रेनिंग भी होती है। हाँ, हार्ड वर्क होता है, ये भी सुना है। देयर इज़ हार्ड वर्क, देयर इज़ डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, देयर इज़ हार्ड वर्क। ट्रेनिंग भी होती है टीचर्स की, बट वर्किंग एनवायरनमेंट बहुत अच्छा है।
No, this is a spot on thing. And
I mean,
that,
I'm quoting what I just heard 2 days ago.
yeah, no, this is something that because now I'm in that journey of talking to so many schools and teachers and so on. This is a common pattern of all good schools where they are just focused on working environment for teachers. And this is decades of research now across the globe, India, everywhere. Uh, workplace environment in a school leads to better teacher well-being, leads to better student outcomes, whatever may be the student outcome that you want to decide. It's just a
Absolutely.
straight line that connects all three. Anything before we close that you think we have not discussed and you think is very important for a new principal or a young teacher?
Well, I would, for a young teacher, when you enter the school, uh, find your own mentor. I mean, just don't. I mean, just study the group dynamics and take time to find your own mentor. Take your time because you have to be working as a cohesive group. Understand the group dynamics, find your own mentor, and then move forward.
Yeah.
Take your time. Don't be in a rush and don't believe everything that's told to you. Get a sense of it yourself.